biracial and I'm proud. I'm biracial and I proclaim it loud. I'm biracial, no hate can keep me down. No matter what my haters say, I proudly rep both of my races today. I'm biracial and I'm proud. I'm biracial and I proclaim it loud. I'm biracial and no hate can. I'm biracial and I'm proud. I'm biracial and I proclaim it loud. I'm biracial, no hate can keep me down. No matter what my haters say, I proudly rep both of my races today. I'm biracial and I'm proud. I'm biracial and I proclaim it loud. I'm biracial and no hate can.
Assalamu alaikum, YouTube. Was cracking it, yo. Angry biracial. This was like a last minute live, so I don't expect a big audience. It was nothing planned, but I wanted to discuss something because I see a lot of people who are talking about us biracials. Like, what is a biracial? A biracial is this, and mostly these fucking kings, right? I'm gonna start calling them tragic kings from now on because they got a lot to say about us biracial people. And I wanted to speak on that. I'm going to be on here less than an hour because I got shit to do. Less than an hour. So this is going to be quick. Again, I don't expect any type of turnout because this wasn't announced. This wasn't planned. This was just last minute, right? So hope you all catch the playback. So a lot of people are confused about what we as biracials are and what we aren't. One, I don't speak for all biracial people. And my channel is not a pro-biracial channel. But as a biracial man and a content creator who is biracial, there's a lot of confusion about who I am. I feel I got to speak on it, right? One, as a biracial man, I am half black and I am half Arab, right? But biracial encompasses more than just half black and half Arab. Biracial can be half black, half Asian, half white, half Hispanic, whatever. It just means having two different people, two parents from different ethnic backgrounds or racial groups, right? So, but what I find amusing is everyone wants to try to have an assumption about biracial people. There's this big misunderstanding or slur going on about us. A lot of they want to call us tragic mulattoes. They want to say that we're confused. Look, biracial people, we're not confused. Or at least I'm not. Let me speak for myself. I'm not confused. As a biracial man, I am proudly biracial. I identify as biracial. I'm not a black man. I don't want to be a black man. My father is a black man. I'm a biracial man. I'm not an Arab man. I don't want to be an Arab man. My mother is an Arab woman. It's like a lot of these, and I'm going to direct this at the kings because mostly the kings that talk shit about me as a biracial man. You know, they seem to understand what a biracial is. I mean, not a biracial. They understand what mixing breeds is when it comes to dogs, right? They could break down how their pit bull mixed with something else is not really a pit bull, it's a new breed of dog. But they don't seem to understand that shit when it comes to their offspring. A lot of us biracial people, well, again, let me speak for myself. Let me not generalize. Speak myself. Like a lot of us, I keep saying a lot of us. I'll say a lot of us. A lot of us are the products, 98% of biracial in America are products of black men. That's a fact. Black men making up 98% of making biracials, right? Then they abandon their biracial child to grow up with their non-black side. What's going on, Purple Vamp? This is going to be a quick one, so I'm not on here very long. Then they abandon their biracial child because black men are some of the biggest deadbeats on the fucking planet. Right? They abandon their biracial child to be raised by their non-black side, right? And then 9 times out of 10, that biracial child has a lot of love from his white side, from his Asian side, from his Arab side. Well, that wasn't my story, but in general, you know, from their non-black side, right? And then they grow up and they don't really want to identify with their blackness because all they know about their blackness, all they know is their black father was a piece of shit. Their black father was a deadbeat. Their black father abandoned them and they were raised solely by their non-black side. So they identify not with blackness, but with the non-black side, right? And then these same fucking kings that created these biracials and then abandoned these biracials to be raised outside the black community suddenly want to get online and say biracials are this or that, or, you ain't black, you ain't this, or you're a tragic mulatto. I mean, you can't expect us to identify with a side of us that we never met. 100%. So that's something that baffles me about these fucking kings. Y'all want to gatekeep blackness, which and I think you guys should, because again, I think biracials, we should have our own category. We should have our own racial group to cut out all this fucking bullshit, right? But these kings want to gatekeep blackness, yet they're the ones diluting it the fucking most. They're the ones, look, biracial men are going to overtake and replace black men in America. Biracial men were going to be the new black men. And again, we don't want to be the new black men. We just want to be biracial men, right? But the way things are going, the way that kings are fucking themselves to extinction, pretty soon the new face of black men is going to look like me. And that's another reason why that I'm pushing for us biracials to have our own racial category, because I don't want to be the face of black men. Black men have fucked up their image and their race enough that I don't want to be the face of that shit. And people say, well, how come you don't want to identify as a black man? One, I'm not a black man. And two, I don't want to be identified with that degenerate bullshit. I don't want to be identified with some of the biggest rapists in America, with some of the biggest abusers and abandoners in America. I don't want to be identified with none of that shit. I could just go out and say, grow out a big afro and say, hey, I'm a light-skinned black guy, but that would be being dishonest to myself. I am not that. I am biracial, right? And it's, hey, what's going on? And I just find it super annoying and it's frustrating that so many non-biracial people want to make panels and not invite actual biracial people on there. So many non-biracial people want to give their opinions on biracial people and from an outsider looking in, and not invite any biracial people on the panel to say, hey, you're wrong about this. Hey, what's going on, Monica Loves? Like, you're wrong about this. Like if you want to know about like a Muslim person, right? You go ask a Muslim. If you go ask a Christian about a Muslim person, if you go ask a Christian about Islam, you're going to get a biased answer from a Christian standpoint about Islam. Why not go to the source and ask a Muslim person about being Muslim, right? And this is the thing here, right? So many people have questions and concerns and thoughts on biracial people, but they never want to ask biracial people. They want to hold panels and talk amongst themselves and exclude biracial people from a conversation that's about biracial people. And they're pushing out these fucked up stereotypes about biracial people, and TikTok is a whole other fucking realm, right? TikTok does not represent biracial people in whole. Just like TikTok doesn't represent anybody in whole. And to say that the black people on TikTok represents all black people, that's a foolish fucking statement. It's the same thing here. A lot of people say, what's going on, everybody? Again, this is just a very, very quick live. My wife wants to watch a movie and I'm trying to get back up to it. I'm beyond for less than an hour. What's going on? What's going on? And to say that TikTok is a representation of any particular race, it's just foolish. TikTok is a bunch of nonsense on there, right? So again, biracial people in 2023, biracial people, for the most part, we want our own racial category. We don't want to be identified as black. I don't want to be identified as Arab. We don't want to be identified as white. And a lot of people ask us, I get this question a lot. They're like, how come you don't have this same smoke for your other side? I mean, my other side is not making video after video after video talking about how biracial people are not Arabs. My other side is not sending me inboxes and comments on my comment section talking about, oh, you're a tragic mulatto. Oh, also, I'm having internet issues. There's a big storm in my area, so it may be like jinx a little bit. It may cut out. So just be mindful of that. Again, that's another reason why I'm being short, right? Mother's side is not saying shit like that. I only get that from black men, right? My Arab people don't come to me and say, you're not really an Arab. You're a fake Arab person. They just don't. You know what I mean? No, I've yet to have an Arab person come onto my YouTube channel and call me a tragic mulatto and say you're not Arab, you're this and this. I have yet to have that happen. I only get that from black men, 100%. That's all that hate comes from. Again, I find that hate fucking mind-boggling because, like, you are creating us. No other group of men are mass creating biracial people like black men. You are creating us. It's like, and then you have the nerve to be upset. I mean, before I get there, and the confusing part is, and I don't think biracials are confused. I think black men are confused because there are a bunch of black men, right, that come on and say, oh, brother, you're just black like me. Stop hating. I see you as a black man, right? And then there are a bunch of other black men that say, you're not really black. You're this and you're that, And the whole time, I'm just saying I'm biracial. So I got black men on both sides, just running their mouths, confused about what the fuck I am. Yet you have the nerve to say that me as a biracial is confused. I'm not confused, yo. I'm 100% biracial and I'm proud. Everything I do, from my channel name, Angry Biracial, from my logo, from my music, everything is saying I'm proudly biracial. and I think the difficult part in separating biracial people from the black community is the fact that biracial people are so tied in to black history, and that biracial people come from black people, and that the one drop rule is still socially prevalent in America. It may have been legally abolished, but it's socially prevalent in America, and I'm not saying that black people can't gatekeep. If black men want to define what a black man is in America, cool, more power to you. But then don't get upset when biracial people, especially me, a biracial man, steps forward and says, I'm biracial. I'm not a black man. I'm biracial. Because everyone wants to act like, I'm some self-hating black guy. Nah, man. I mean, when I say everyone, I'm just talking about kings, right? They want to act like I'm some self-hating black guy half the time. I'm like, I'm not. Look, my entire life, I grew up identifying as just black. When I was a kid, I grew up identifying as black. When I was going through junior high school, it wasn't until 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I said, I just got tired of fighting to prove my blackness, so to speak, right? And I said, you're right. I'm not full black. I'm only 47% black, according to Ancestry DNA, right? I got a lot of Nigerian and Cameroon in me, right? So I said, you're right. I am not full black. And it's about time that I stop this fucking headache, that I stop fighting to be a part of a group that doesn't like me because of my features and my racial mix. And once I said, yes, I am biracial, identified as biracial, and I made it loud and clear that I'm biracial, I felt fucking at peace. I felt great. I no longer had that stress that I had to fight fucking black men every fucking day just to be there, And I think that's something that all biracial people need to do. And having our own racial space, our own biracial category, our own racial group will fix that. It will give us an identity, so we're not trying to be a part of a group that we're not. So don't take the racial abuse from the other group, right? That's why I started this petition. And let me hide this petition for y'all. It's at change.org, right? It's called Reaffirming the Biracial Identity. It's giving biracial people an identity that we desperately need, You know, my channel, look, I hold these kings accountable all fucking day, right? And all they want to do is call me a tragic mulatto. Again, I don't give a fuck about that shit because I'm proudly biracial. But it's like, if you hate biracial people, stop making us. 100%. Or if you hate biracial people, put your money where your mouth is and sign the fucking petition, right? Put your money where your mouth is, sign the petition, and help biracial people get their own identity so there's not this big fucking problem, right? So there's not this issue with biracial people being in limbo. You know that saying that you hear a lot of us say, not black enough for the black community, but too black to be anything else. So there's not that problem. And that is a real thing, right? That is a real thing that I've had my entire life. When I'm in a room full of white people, I'm just an N-word to those white people. You know, but when I'm in a room full of black people, I'm not black enough. I'm a mixed guy. I'm a light-skinned guy. I'm a biracial guy. I'm not a brother. You know what I mean? So where's the space for us? And then when we do create spaces for ourselves, and when we do start talking about our biracial identity and how we want to be biracial, these kings just try to infiltrate it and gaslight and call us self-hating. So it's like, make up your fucking minds. It's annoying as shit. Get some of these comments. You know? So that's all I'm saying. And again, I wholeheartedly believe, and me identifying as biracial has nothing to do with my black side or my Arab side. I love black people. I love Arab people. You know, I love black women. Hell, y'all know I love black women. You know what I mean? That's my whole channel. You know what I mean? And I love black people and I love Arab people. But I needed an identity for myself. Because imagine your entire life being told that you're not this and you're not that. So then you're like, well, where the fuck do I fit in at? And that causes confusion. And a lot of biracial people have depression. A lot of them have identity issues. And the confusion that a lot of these kings like to make fun of in biracials comes from the fucking kings themselves. You know, because at home, like, so say I'm not half white, but if I was being raised, I wasn't raised by my mother either, but I grew up in group homes and stuff. Y'all know my background, right? If I was raised by a white family, right, they would see me just as black. They wouldn't see me as white or biracial, or just be black, right? And then if I was raised by a black family, they would tell me I'm just black. They wouldn't tell me I'm biracial or mixed or anything else. But the problem is when that biracial goes out into the world, he or she goes to school, he or she starts interacting on social media. That's when the rest of the world will start letting you know who the fuck you are really quickly. And that's where a lot of the confusion for biracials could come in at, right? Hold on, get some of these comments. Right, you know, and I don't want to deny any part of me. Like I love my black side. I think black people are amazing, and I'm so fucking proud that I come from a lot of the strength and a lot of the power that comes from being African American. So I love the fact that I have that in me, and I also love the fact that I have Arab in me. I love a lot of the culture and the traditions and the music and a lot of the strength that also comes from my mother's Arab side, right? I love it. I wouldn't want to be anything else. And it's a shame that claiming that makes you a self-hater. It's a shame that claiming that means you hate the other side. I mean, colorism has really fucked black men up. Colorism has really fucked up the mindset of black men. You know, it's either all or nothing for them, you know? What do your kids identify as? Like, what does that have to do with anything? My kids are mixed race. They identify as mixed race. Have you seen pictures of my kids? My kids look more mixed than I do. So it's like, yeah. And my oldest daughter is having the problem that I had when I was a child already. Kids at school call her a white girl. They tell her she's not really black. They even tell her she's not really Muslim because she looks like a white girl. You know, but be it she goes to a school with predominantly Africans, so that could be it too. We're getting ready to move them into a private school, but then again, so yeah, I don't know where that question came from though. And another prime example of a lot of the gaslighting that these fucking kings do. Like, do you remember when I had that 6-hour live stream, right? Where I discussed, being biracial and how it would look if biracial people separated from the black community. One of the few black men that I let on, right? He had this red, black, green. And, that was a red flag when I saw the red, black, green thing in the background. He came in and everyone knows damn well the difference between a biracial person, a mixed race person, and then the everyday African-American person. Of course, African-Americans have European in them due to slavery. All African-Americans have European in them. My wife is 88% sub-Saharan African, right? 11% German and 1% Chinese. I don't know where the fuck the Chinese came from. I always tease her about it. I don't know where the Chinese came from, but she has 1% Chinese in her, right? But 88% sub-Saharan African, right? And my wife is a black woman from Detroit, right? And so, of course, all black Americans have some European in them. But this fucking Kane came on there and said, so if you're separating mixed people from black people, well, black people are mixed too, so you belong with us. I'm like, mixed? Just trying to gaslight and throw the whole conversation off just because you have 2% or 10%, even 15% European in you does not make you the same as a biracial person. I am 47% sub-Saharan African. I'm not even a half-African, right? So the rest of me is a mixture of European, the mixture of Middle Eastern, So it's like, that's a mixed race person. That's a biracial person. So it's just, it's frustrating all the damn time. It's frustrating. So that's what I'm saying. If I agree that black women should not be represented by mixed race women, black women, I'm having a real bad internet issue. My StreamYard keeps saying my internet is going in and out because we're having a bad storm back here, so I might have to cut this early. Forgive me for that. Let me know if it's cutting in and out or not. All right. So did you say African? Yeah. Yeah, I said African. I'm not even a African, right? But that's why I tell a lot of these kings, if you have an issue with biracial people being in the black community, 1, stop creating us. 2, sign the petition. Help us get our own fucking racial category. I made this petition just for that. Of course, this petition is not going to fix the problem, but the more signatures we get on it, the more chance that we get of this becoming a national thing, of having a national discussion on it. This going on CNN and MSNBC, and of us being able to lobby to have our own racial group, our own biracial history month, and that's a fact. But this whole concept of race is a made-up concept. Yeah, I mean, it is a made-up concept. It really is, but it's a concept that people kill each other over. It's a concept that people oppress each other over, So it's unfortunate, that people exclude each other based upon skin tone and features. Instead of all of us just being humans, we're all stuck, dividing ourselves into different segments because that's how human beings are, unfortunately. But so my question is to y'all, and I know my audience is filled with amazing divested black women. Your kids are going to be biracial, right? Wouldn't you like your kids to have their own racial category? Because I know no matter how much you love your child, no matter how well intending you are with your child, telling your child his whole life, I'm not saying that this is what you do either, but telling your child his or her whole life that they're just black, that is detrimental to that child's mental health. That's detrimental to that child's growth, because again, the world is going to tell him or her that they're not, and that's what causes the confusion. Hey, what's going on, everybody? That's what causes the confusion, right? You know, so to my beautiful divested sisters, raise your kids, because this is from a biracial man that grew up feeling isolated and alone and not fitting in anywhere. Because my whole life when I was younger, I was told I was just black, right? And then the world told me I was something else. So avoid that hurt and that isolation and that pain by teaching your biracial kids what they are. They're biracial. Let them love and embrace both of who they are, right? And help push for our own identity category so we can have something to be proud of. Again, I'm not doing this for me because, like, I'm 40 years old. You know, when you get to a certain age, you really don't give a fuck about anything anymore, right? I'm 40. I don't give a fuck if people like me, if they don't, you know what I mean? But I'm doing this for the younger generation, for young generation that's going to experience it, that's going to go through it, and that is currently going through. I'm doing this for my kids. My kids are mixed race, you know what I mean? And they're already getting picked on and bullied for having long curly hair, even though I'm 47% black and my wife is 88% black. My kids, I got strong ass genes, you know. My kids came out looking more mixed and more like me than they did looking like my wife, right? So I'm pushing for this, for the future of biracial children, for my biracial children, to have our own racial category, to have something that we can be proud of. Like, well, why do you think I started making biracial music? I started writing biracial books because music, books, food, dances, all that form a culture, right? And I, in my own way, was trying to make my own biracial culture, something that young biracial men and women can nod their head to. Hey, something, you can say, hey, I'm proud of this song. This song represents me. Because look, when I was younger, I did a lot of pro-black stuff, right? I'll be marching with the Black Panthers, putting my fist in the air, Black Power. But I always felt weird because I was the only person like me in a throng filled with dark-skinned black people. I stuck out like a sore fucking thumb. I felt out of place. I felt like I didn't fit in here. And it was the truth. I didn't. I was trying to overcompensate to be something that I wasn't, right? And I did more damage to myself trying to fit in than I did anything else, right? Right? And it's like, so it's very important that biracial people, we have our own identity. So I said my little spiel. Again, I'm not going to be on very long. If anyone wants to come up and ask any questions, I got about 30 minutes and we can ask these questions. My wife, she's not watching my video, which is good because I'm going to talk about her for a minute. Look, if y'all don't see me, if I disappear, it's because my wife did something to me. Nah, I'm joking. Like, she wants to watch the new Insidious that's coming out. We got a bootleg copy on our Amazon Fire Stick, whatever. And she is a big baby when it comes to scary movies. So, if I'm not up there holding her hand while we're watching it is a problem. I'm gonna be up all night, helping her go to the bathroom because she's scared. It is what it is. I love her to death, though, but it's kind of a big baby. So I'm trying to hurry this up. Here is the link. If you want to come up, I got about 30 minutes. We could talk about why this is important, why having this conversation is important, why biracial people are having this conversation with black people is important. You know what I mean? Because again, everyone deserves their own racial identity. Black women deserve to be represented by black women, by women that look like them, not women that look like Meghan Markle. And black men, as much as these kangs get on my fucking nerves, kangs deserve to be represented by fucking kangs. I can't even get that out right. Kangs deserve to be represented by kangs. Black men deserve to be represented by a man that looks like them, not by a man that looks like me. I shouldn't be what a black man looks like because I'm not a black man. And then the same token, biracial people, we should have our own category. So so that a black person, a black woman is not representing a biracial person, and a black man isn't representing a biracial man, right? For instance, like Angela Bassett playing Rosa Parks. In my mind, that shouldn't have happened, you know. Or what was that dude's name? You know, y'all watch the movie for Thurgood Marshall, right? The Thurgood Marshall, he was biracial, and he was like my same skin tone, and he actually looked like he's Italian or something. And he was played by a dark-skinned black man. I mean, so this mix-up in representation shouldn't happen. We should have our own categories. And that's why I'm pushing this petition. I'm going to post a link to the petition in my, on my channel. I also put it here so y'all can click on it. Sign the petition. They'll sign a petition. Let's help biracial people have their own identity, you know? And being half black man puts me in a unique position, right? You know, I grew up in the black community, and I grew up around a lot of black men, right? And so it puts me in a position to where I can speak on shit like that, you know? Hold on, identify. Oh, thank you. It puts me in a position to where I can speak on certain things, right? And we'll say like, oh, a white person can't, right? But at the same time, you know, I can't speak on my other half, you know, because other races gatekeep their racial identity very, very strictly. Like white people, they gatekeep their racial purity very strictly, right? A white woman, she can have a dark-skinned biracial kid, because I've seen some biracial kids that came out extremely dark. They don't look biracial at all. They just look black. And she will still tell that child that came out of her womb that you are black, that you are not white like me. And to me, that's fucked up. How can you look at your child and just deny them based upon upholding your racial purity standards? That's how strict white people gatekeep white purity, right? And I think black people have the right to do the same thing. You have the right to gatekeep what blackness is. And I think a lot of biracial people and a lot of black activists on this topic, we're in accordance on this. We should stop bumping heads on this, you know, and work together to affirm both of our identities, you know, because I don't want to be the new face of black men, because, you know, the way it's going, the way that black men are breeding themselves out, you know, next 10, 15 years, you know, that's what it's looking like. So I'm really hoping that we can get something going to where biracial people have our own identity, and that shit doesn't happen. All right, I dropped the link. If no one wants to come up, I'm going to end this. Again, this was a last minute thing. I didn't plan this. You know, I got a lot of hate mail today, a lot more than usual, right? And I got a lot of other kangs making long ass live streams about me, calling me the tragic mulatto, calling me this, and talking about me being biracial and all this stuff. So I said, let me come on and say this, because I'm not an attack channel. I don't go back and forth with trolls or people. I don't give a fuck about that. I have a great life. I log off and I spend time with my family. I'm not worried about what goes on in these YouTube streets like that, right? But today it just seemed like to bombard me, and I was like, okay, let me go on here and do a quick live and ask those so-called kangs that hate the fact that I'm biracial, hate the fact that I'm speaking about this shit, to come on here and sign the petition. Stop talking about it and be about it. Put your fucking money where your mouth is. But the thing is, that's asking kangs to be accountable for something. That's asking kangs to be responsible for something, right? You know? So it's like, if you have a problem with biracial people, sign the petition. Who's this? There's too much self-hatred among black people, so therefore ain't no way they're gonna gatekeep. They're gonna gatekeeping blackness. Yeah, you know, There's a lot of self-hatred, but I don't really want to speak on that. Like I can speak on it, when it comes like to the black men, but as far as like as a community, I try to avoid that because again, I know my place as a biracial man, and I didn't grow up with black parents, so like there's a lot there that I'm missing, you know. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? Again, this is not like my normal lives. This is it wasn't planned, but thank you all for showing up. I didn't expect anyone to show up, man. I love you all. You guys are fucking amazing. I love my audience. And speaking of that, I'm gonna start closing out. Since no one wants to come up here and talk with me. Biracial men are sexy. Thank you, thank you. I'm a happily married biracial man, but thank you for the compliment. I'm going to start promoting a lot of black women businesses, right? A lot of you have already sent me, your business links and videos to you, right? And I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate it into my videos, or whether or not I'm going to do, just pick a day like a Friday or a Saturday and make videos promoting but black women business, because I want to give back. Because again, my channel, I'm gonna say it again, my channel would not be what it is without the love and support of you amazing black women. So I'm not only am I going to donate to black women charities, I'm going to promote for free black women businesses on my channel. So I just got to figure out how I'm going to do that. So if you have a business, please make a 30-second video, right? Make a 30-second video and promoting your business and send it to me. No, don't put any music in it because I don't want to get a copyright strike for it, right? If you want to put music in it, I have my music, Angry Biracial music. I have like 40 songs out. Put one of those songs in it, right? And then just send it to me. And then I will add it to one of my videos. I'll make it short. I'll figure it out. I haven't figured it out yet. I appreciate you too, Jay Royal. Thank you for watching. Right. And I appreciate you, BW, Wake Up and Behold. And I watched some of your TikTok videos, man. And I think it's the same one or the same name, man. I've actually stolen some of your videos and reacted to them because you have some amazing content on TikTok, man. I really appreciate that. And, I was not raised, but I'm the seed of a degenerate black male. And so I tried my best to speak out on it because there are a lot of issues that are wrong with black men. And a lot of these issues could have been avoided if they would just be fucking fathers. A lot of the issues in the black community would be avoided if they can just be fucking fathers. Like you can't say that I am confused as a biracial and that I hate my black side if you, as the representative of my black side, never showed the fuck up. 100%. What example do I have if you, the representative of my black side, never showed the fuck up? Hey, what's going on? My dating site is up. It is up and it is running, right? It is up and it is running. So I made some changes to it. Someone got mad at me, right? About my dating site, right? Someone got mad at me and said, that why do you have the option, for someone to identify as a black male in there? Is it just for black women that want other races of men, or dusties allowed on there? And I was like, I'm not a computer programmer. You know what I mean? Like I bought a dating app theme, right? And I applied that theme to my website. And I hired someone to try to change the theme up, but they can't edit that part. So that's why I asked people, to report stuff to me, to email me, and I have a strict verification system, right? I have to manually review and approve every single profile. And that's a pain in the ass, you know what I mean? But I'm doing that in order to keep it dust free and keep it a safe space for black women to find love outside the Black community. So yes, the website is up, and there's still some kinks, and it's going to be slow for a while, right? The website is going to be slow probably for like 4 or 5 months. It takes a while for these things to get traction and stuff. All right, well, I just want to say that. So please sign the petition. And let me drop the link. I got 20 more minutes. If anyone wants to come on up and talk about anything, I guess. It's hot as shit in my garage. It's humid. It's been raining all day. I need to get a fan back here. Woo. But I do have some live streams that I'm going to do in the future. My wife and we're going to do a live stream where we're going to react to some stuff together. Now that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun, and it's going to be fucking awesome because my wife, she has an amazing sense of humor, right? So it's going to be, I can't wait to start doing those. What's the name of my website? Over here. Let me share it with you guys. Let me send so y'all can see what my website is. It's called Dating Out. Go where you're loved. Hey Trina. Hey, you were on my last live, right? Hey Trina, what's going on?
Not much. I don't have a problem. Most definitely. I have to be honest. And I probably will sign it. The only catch that I have, and I said it before when everybody was basically saying a biracial is a biracial. During that time period, it is significantly, in my opinion, a difference between biracials coming from, depending on the combination of the parentage. So I get where you're coming from. I'm just not for the history change because those biracials came primarily from Black women. So I'm being honest. It's a different formula and format
Well,
to me.
I appreciate your honesty. We just have to disagree on that,
Right.
And I loved you. A lot of people loved your commentary and everything you did on the last live, and I really appreciate you coming up on that. You were awesome.
Right. That's the only thing that I have. But I understand exactly how I can empathize with how biracials would feel. I'm not a biracial, but I can empathize how they would feel. It's just the idea. I think that's where we're going to come into I guess a flack per se, because biracials coming from different combinations, it's almost like a backlash towards us. But I can understand how you would feel as a biracial man with Black men and their degeneracy, because Black women are catching the flack from this as well. So it's like we're not in this grouping, and that time in history was a different time where that combination of those children being created were not a willful creation primarily, but it was between Black women and white men under a time of duress when we were being utilized as like a force of breeding. But now it's like when you were talking about the combinations of biracials, it's like you can see it's a clear difference. But I definitely agree that biracials should have their own space, most definitely. So that's the only thing I had about it. But I'm praying that something can come out good for biracials in this aspect. But it's going to be so many combinations. Is this combination going to be just for Black American biracials only?
Since Black American biracials, well, yeah, we're talking about just Americans right now, and since like half Black, half white is like the biggest biracial group in America, so we want to just get something established, and then we can make other categories later. But I think, but biracial, and I want to focus on half Black biracials because that's like. Because we are unique to America, you just like African Americans are unique to America, And I don't like using the term African American, but just like we're both unique.
Yeah, we're trying to delineate from that term. If you know your other half, we're trying to delineate from African. It's just going to go back to Black. That's what a lot of us are trying to do.
Okay, well, I will try to put that in my vocabulary now because I'm like, and because we want, because we are unique to America too, and it's like,
Right.
so, and we are also ADOS, and we come from that same
Right.
ancestry.
American descendants of chattel slavery. Now that's the only thing in going in your bio by you being that it's going to be like a toss up because we're having like a disparage with the Caribbeans and Africans, and you're being specific because your father was Black American. So I think in that aspect, that has to be like, totally
Right.
pressed when you're doing it, so you can have the right language.
And that reminds you, you're like, so like a man like Barack Obama, even though he's a biracial, he wouldn't be in the same category
No,
as us
y'all
because
wouldn't.
his father is not Black American. His father didn't
He's
come
king.
from the same chattel slavery as my father came from,
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot we still got to work out, but the petition is just for so we can start having the conversation on a national level outside of YouTube.
Okay. I think we do need to have this conversation between Black men, Black women, and biracials created by Black Americans. You're doing a good thing. I think there's something that needs to be resolved because this is going to be something that we need to forefront as a group of people on your identity. So because
Right.
Black women are also fighting for their identity. They're correct.
Right.
I'm not quite sure what Black men are doing, but Black women are gonna do our best as a collective to secure our identity. And I wouldn't want my other half, which is biracials, whether they come from the male or the female, to feel any different in how this fight is as we are as a people. So
Okay.
I think it's a good conversation that we need to have.
Definitely, and I'll probably set up another another live where we can talk about it from like the different angle because that 6 hour live wore me out. I was wore out, man. I'm tired.
Woo. I think yeah, you do short segments and do it like different time periods and maybe break it up, just giving a suggestion on like how biracial women feel coming from two different and then the biracial men. So we can get a perspective on each side.
All right.
Because men may feel different from women. So do it from a woman's perspective, one that's coming from a biracial, from a Black mother, a white mother, so they can air out those differences and vice versa.
Yeah, to try to have
Sometimes we may have to sit up. Yeah, because I'm seeing there's a significant difference in the way that they feel because like someone was saying that they feel like the ones coming from Black mothers feel like they're better than or in a better position than. So that's
yeah.
something that may need to be approached on a different aspect too.
Yeah, I agree. Like in the biracial communities, there's kind of like we have our own little internal war going on right now.
That was strange to me. I was like, wow, are you kidding me? That was deep.
Because there's a lot of colorism that we're facing in a lot of these biracial communities, these groups that we have, because a lot of the half Black, half white ones think they're better than the ones that are just half Black and half something else. And so there is
Wow.
there is, again, it's not all biracials, but there's a big group that's loud with it. And there are some, like I said, I ran into this one guy, right? He's not really biracial, but like both his parents were biracial, right? So
Mhm.
he came out looking like extremely mixed. He has blue eyes, his skin is the same color as mine, and he has brown
Mhm.
hair, but he keeps his hair short, right? And he
Mhm.
looks like a bald-headed white guy. And
Mhm.
he joined a Nazi white supremacist group.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that. Mhm.
And it's like, and he was accepted. They knew that because they had their own program. Because according to him, him and I had long conversations about this. And actually, in my book, "Am I Enough? A Biracial Story," I feature his story in there, right? And not all of it's accurate, but but it's based on him, right? And
Mhm.
he was telling me how there was a program that those white supremacists have, to get half Black, half white, but biracials, and breed the rest of the Black out of them because their numbers are
I
quickly
love
are getting low, right? So
it.
if
Mhm.
they get that small amount of Black, because Black people don't have those same problems breeding as white people have been having lately. You know what I mean? I,
Mhm.
I got 6 kids, man. I don't got that problem, right? And
Okay.
you know what I mean, right? The half of me with my wife ain't got that problem, right? And
Exactly.
and they're having this issue. So he was telling me about this program that they're having, that they're reaching out to half black,
Mhm.
half white biracials and try to integrate them into their
And
society, and it was
and
crazy.
they're probably from and if I may interject, are they
Right.
probably from white mothers?
Yeah,
Yeah, and it would be easy to do that because a lot of them coming from white mothers and then basically being raised in that society, and then you have black fathers who are not active.
right.
They already have disdain for the father. You just happen to be one of few or many that don't have you have that disdain, but you had to work through it. So
Yeah,
I can see why they would go in that direction because they in large are primarily from their mother, the white woman. So now you can see where it's coming, but a lot of black men don't see that this is a problem. They
right.
don't really care.
It's a
And
problem
when
that they are
they say
creating.
something, it's like that's the only thing that I basically say I think we do need to come to an aspect of this because we do have a large aspect of colorism, and that's primarily why biracials are created.
Right.
Because of I didn't like to say he hated himself because I didn't see that because I see that darker skinned men like being dark skinned as I in my opinion, that's what I thought. But now that I'm seeing the magnitude of biracial children that are being created, I'm not quite sure. I'm kind of perplexed on
Well,
how this is because they are different in some sense when it comes to their daughters,
yeah,
but are a whole different aspect when it comes to the males. You know, I've seen it in our community when it comes to light skin, dark skin, and the whole nine yards. So that aspect, because of slavery, has not stopped. And in a lot of ways, I find that more black men are more colorist than some white men or men who are. I'm not quite sure about
I
biracials
agree.
because this
I
is
agree.
something new for me because I'm not sure how biracials feel when it comes to color.
Well, like I don't know. I just tell you how I feel. I can't again. I can't speak for all biracial people,
Right.
but like for me, like again, I grew up and I was extremely pro black at one time. You know, I was just fucking. I, I was an active member of the Black Panther community. I was very pro black, and no matter I found it odd that no matter where I went, right,
Mhm.
black men made it a point to tell me that I was light skinned, that I was biracial, or you know what I mean. And I never got that anyplace else. And a lot of the black men come on and they tell me, well, how come you don't got smoke for your Arab side? And I'm like, well, my Arab side is not constantly coming over and telling me that I'm not an Arab person, that I'm not that I'm a pretend Arab person, you know, that I'm biracial. My Arab side doesn't say shit at all. And I said, if you type in black biracial people are not black on YouTube, it's 90% of it is just black men bashing
Right.
on biracial people and saying how much they think biracial people are tragic mulattoes, how they're not black. So I mean, so like we get most of our hate from black men, so of course we're gonna shoot back at where we get the hate from. You know, the,
Right.
the colorism, yeah, it's crazy. But there was so a point in my life where, but because I would get so much hate from black men, and I would internalize it because you
Right.
know say that I would just go off on a fucking tangent where I just hated, you know. But it's a lot of work I had to work. I had to work through my own identity crisis, my own identity issues,
Did you
and
go to a counselor for that?
no,
Just not to be personal.
no, I didn't go to a counselor.
Mhm.
I I eventually just got, you know, when people get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know, I had to say I have to let the part of me go, that part of me go, and just embrace
Mhm.
the fact that I'm biracial. And
Well, as Black Americans, being part Black American, that is part of our reparations claim that a lot of Black Americans need to get their counseling because we have issues
right,
when it comes to that because of the traumatization. And when I said, I don't mean to answer one of your comments, I'm not speaking like created. When I say created, Black men have this sense of breeding, and you have to understand where it comes from. It comes from slavery, and doing that for over 200 to 500 years. I'm not giving them no excuse by no means, but that trait is still there, like at a magnitude that is bar none. So when I say created, it's like that's the mindset and the way that a lot of them think. So that's what I'm saying. When they go out and create, that's how they think in their mind. I'm creating, they say it to create and start anew. You got to hear how they talk. So that's why I initialize it like that. When they say they're going outside of their race, they're going to create elsewhere. I'm going to create a new community. So it's not like I'm saying that you're not human, but that's the way in which they think. They were used for so long to breed, they still have that breeding mentality. That's why I said it. And that's how they think. You got to understand how a lot, not all, but too many are coming from that position. So
Sister
that's why
asked
I
me,
said it like that.
oh, how I feel about the Arab slave trade. Like, I don't really feel anything about the Arab slave trade because, like, it happened. It was horrible, but I don't see what that has to do with me personally. You know what I mean? So it's just, and I get that question a lot too. I have some other haters, some some Kang talking about, the Arabs did it, raped black women for a long time, so I'm like, what that have to do with me, what I mean?
That's
So,
something different when you're thinking about
right,
United States chattel slavery. So I
right,
see where you're centering yourself at. Even though your mother was here, she was still here, and you were still created by a father who was centered in this
right,
culture and here. So you're
right.
not going to identify not necessarily with the other side because your roots are more primarily here. So I get it. But
but but but yeah, Arab racism towards blacks is a real thing, and it's fucking horrible. I've done a couple videos where I spoke on that, and I've experienced a lot some racism from the Arab side, and especially who my wife is. When we go to the masjid, and when we go into like to halal stores, halal Arab stores, it's like yeah, it's a real thing, and it's definitely needs to be addressed as well.
yeah, it's something that I would say as a Black American woman that I'm looking into to go for different things that we experience in our trauma. And we were suggesting it as Black women that a lot of us need to go see someone and talk about our issues in regards to the trauma of our community. A lot of Black Americans tend to think they can fix things on their own, and you may possess some of that being half Black American. And it's something that sometimes you need to go and talk out with someone who can understand and relate and help you work through those issues, because you can see a lot of the trauma comes out in different ways in the Black American community. And
Okay.
I don't think this is one of the things that we can fix on. That's part of the reparations, but that's not something that we have to wait for reparations on. That's something that they're asking Black Americans, you need to go get that help, because a lot of the decisions that we make in regards to relationships and how we have been treated in this country is affecting our decisions and our emotions on how we react. And you have a lot of it where you see it where it's men react in a way that is more critical, like more volatile, violent. Women
Right.
act in a way that they tend to make bad choices in the men that they pick. We have an issue as Black women where we have a low self-esteem. So you tend to, they always ask, well, why do you pick these same ones? Black women, we were doing something on a podcast, we kind of like trauma bond with our group because of the trauma that has gone on for years. And people say, oh, that slavery was a long time ago. Not actually. We still
Right.
go through a lot of things now. So it's like you tend to stick with what you know, even though you know that it's toxic, but you're afraid to step out. And I'm speaking from a Black woman's point of view, because you don't know other groups. You don't know how they are. So you tend to be comfortable in the toxicity. You know it's wrong, but it's like now Black women are getting to the point, not all, but many are getting to the point where they're starting to say, it's time for me to elevate myself, be about self. And you can see when we're doing that, that's where you get this whole manosphere aspect that Black women are not there, they're not helping. It's just that the aspect Black women, when you say they're tired, a lot of them are saying it's time for me. It's
Right.
time for me to, as a Black American woman, to focus on self. And it's not necessarily going into other male groups. A lot of Black women have just released and are trying to find peace within themselves. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I see a lot of Black women going into like celibacy, or how you would say it's gotten so bad for some women that they don't even want to be bothered anymore, that they're abstinent and
Mm.
they're like happy in their life. It's not that they are lonely, they just want to be alone to that time period, because it can be that crazy, so
Really?
this is things that we're noticing in the Black community, and that's why you see that for Black American males. And I'm looking between, you have to like kind of distinguish who's African, Caribbean, and it's like we're all meshed into one group, and it's a different way Black Americans respond versus how Africans and Caribbeans respond. It's a lot going on, but that's what I notice in our community. It's like how you say, a gender war, but it's
Yeah.
handled and responded to in a different way. That's what I'm saying.
And I definitely agree that slavery and oppression wasn't that long ago. Like my father, before he passed away, like he was born in 1943, and he was born with no rights in this country. You know, so
Hmm.
it really, so I'm one generation, but biracial or not, I would have been right along with him, drinking from a colored water.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
And
I'm
you would have been raised in our community, you would have heard about the stories. My mom was one who
right.
integrated her school when she was a little child. She was the one who had to sit amongst a lot of crazy situations. So you can see that's the part I miss, where biracials who don't get that side that you can like elevate and like understand why our community is the way it is. It's a shame that you got the negativity from both sides, you
Yeah.
know, and you didn't get the love from the other side to say this is why it's A, B, C, and D. Not to side with the degeneracy, but it would have helped you to elevate more. And I hope you can get that as a black male in some way, even though you didn't get it
Right.
from your dad. It's effed up because that I'm not sure about the Arabic side, but I say with the Black American side, I think
Right.
as Black Americans, especially women, we tend to be more accepting than
Yeah.
other groups.
And I, I
That's
can I
my
can attest to that too. Like black women have always I've
yeah,
always been enough for black women. Like I never, it's very rare that I run into to black women that have some issue with me being biracial. Black women have always been loving and accepting, and black women have been raising the black community for fucking centuries. You know, it seems like,
right.
and it's
So
just like,
we're
go ahead.
not taking an offense to the side that you want to take on, but it's like, wait a minute, which side are y'all going on? So it's kind of like an aspect, is it a ditch with us? So it's like a pullback. You know, it's not like so much a pullback. We just need to more have more understanding to get get clarity on it, because I don't want black women to get in their feelings
Right,
in the aspect that we're pushing out and not negating someone else's feelings. We just need to have an understanding. It feels like we're caught in the middle of something that was caused by another group, and the group is connected to both of us.
right.
That's my
Yeah, like I have, y'all know me. I have no smoke for black women at all. It's just
right,
this is biracials and me personally too. We want our own identity,
right.
and
And you
and
should.
and that's not saying that we don't like either side. We're still gonna love our mothers and our fathers and our ancestors on both sides, but just tired of the confusion. It's tired
Right.
of constantly being told we're not this and we're not that, and we just rather have something we can say, well, you're right, we're not that, but we're this right here, and this is ours, and you can't take this from me. That's what we want, because no, in some circles, and this is it's frustrating. Like I was accepted as being part of the group and one day, the next day, oh, you ain't part of us no more. We're
Oh,
revoking you.
when it's necessary, they do that.
Right. And I'm like, but no, but before biracial, like that hurts even more, because
Hmm.
our entire life we just want to fit in somewhere,
Hmm.
and then to fit in, and then the next day, well, fuck you, I don't like what you said about your experience on your Facebook, so you're
Hmm.
no longer part of us, so that is very hurtful and frustrating,
Hmm.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And it's almost feeling like how darker skinned women feel. It's okay when we have to go and march and be utilized for
Right.
different things with that strong woman, and the next thing you know, you're pushed to the side when it comes to something else. It would be great if we get more men who can come up who are the fathers of biracials, as well as those who may not have been active participants. I mean, you may not get a lot, but it would be good to hear their side, both negative and positive, on why is it such a need, and what can they do, because this is their cause, and I think they need to do something
Yeah,
in reference to that.
that's a good idea. I would look into that, to do a live with black men who are fathers of biracial people, and who have some enough common sense to have this conversation. So
Yeah,
yes, I
they
will.
would be the main ones who can reach out, and it might have to be a separate panel, because their ego is stroked or fragile, because if they
Right,
come at
right,
them too much, they're gonna come off.
right.
So get someone where they can come and basically have that talk and be strong enough to say, okay, why A, B, C, and D, and it might have to just be you, nobody calling in, just to hear their side on what's what. Because if you start coming at them, they gonna get and they. Ooh.
You're right, because I would come at him a little bit, man. But yeah, I yeah, it's definitely something that I think we need to do. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
don't hold your breath. Someone said you might can get some. I would say you ain't gonna get a lot, but you might can get some. They may not come in waves, but you might can get some here and there. The more you make the waves that you're making now, the more some of them may want to come out and say this, that, and the other, and the third,
right,
because things are going on. As you just did that thing on Dr. Umar,
right,
and now you see where you this is another area where black young males are out of control. So you can see it's like spiraling out in the community all over the place because someone needs to that it's like to me it's like a karma. They haven't been handling their situation, and at some point in time we can't keep just blaming the white man. Now I know the white man may have how you say planted the seed, but they damn sure watered it. And
right,
look at where it's going in every direction, where you have children out in the street, they're scared of their own sons.
right.
And then
Yeah,
you see stuff where they're scared, they don't, this is another whole group right here. So and we're trying to say we want reparations. I see this as being a problem. We're gonna be coming flying at the finish line talking about, we can at least say we do have trauma, but
yeah.
we can't keep carrying this trauma as in the future. This is not gonna work. It's not going to work at all. So something does have to be done, and we have to come to a resolution where each community can live in harmony. It may not be perfect harmony, but we can get some type of code and some type of boundaries drawn on how we would move from this point on.
Right, and I think another issue that I think some other people have brought to my attention is a lot of them are confused. Like, if biracial separate from the black community and have their own identity, are they going to be against black people and competition with black people? And that's something else that we have to address, because I think that a lot of us we don't want that, because we share the same ancestral lineage here in America, that
Mhm.
a lot of our goals are the same, so that's something else that I will make a panel about and address, because some people
It should be. Because
would,
when you're coming from, like you said, you have a guy who came from a white mother and he joining
right,
the what do you call it, the coup, whatever you want to call it.
right,
It could. That is something that could very well happen because that person, the father was not in their life. They done merged back in. And I mean, it could be done for many reasons. Yeah, I could see it happening. I'll be
and,
honest. If they're coming from a white mom, I could honestly see them taking sides with their white side. And that would be justifiably so. It's not like the black father's there. So
right,
they would then come
yeah.
against the black community. That is a strong possibility. And most biracials come from white mothers.
And that's another issue that black men created, so like, and if a lot of and I know some biracial people that hate the black community, because like, I'm in a lot of biracial groups, right? And some biracial people just hate the black community because of the amount of hate that they've gotten from black men. And so a lot of biracial people do need therapy as well, so like,
Right.
again, before we could even advance on this, I want the petition so we can have the conversation on a national level. But before we can even advance on this, a lot of biracial people have extreme mental health issues because of the identity. Again, not all, but some have a lot of issues. Like, I was in that golden sphere space. A lot of biracials in there are extremely mentally gone, and they need therapy before they can be part of anything. Before they
Mhm.
can be a part of a push to form our own racial category. They need to do some work, right? And so,
Mhm.
yeah, that I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. They need a lot of biracials
Yep.
are really, have a lot of issues, man. I'm not
Yep.
trying to go against my own, but I'm speaking the truth. I try to keep it
Mhm.
100 all the time, right? I
And it
love,
makes sense because if you
yeah,
look at how he is creating, how he has gone out here and he's left them aside, he's done the same thing in our
right,
community. So a lot of us need therapy. So that's why I was saying, when you were saying you just made a choice and a decision, I think a lot of us need to get that help. You're a product of him and he's distorted in a
yeah,
lot of ways. and we're distorted. So we've come
Right.
from this history has not just affected us, it's affected you as well. And then coming from a parent who may be white, that racial tension has not stopped just because it's on the white side and they decided that they wanted to co-create children. So that child, I can only imagine what that child has gone through, and it's sad, so yeah, I
And,
think we definitely, as just our group alone, needs it, and I can only imagine it's even double time when it's a biracial.
and I always thought, how bad it would be for like a biracial person who has a white mother and who was growing up being raised by that white mother, for that white mother to never identify them as white, to always say that you're black, and that gives a sense like, well, I'm not part of you. You don't accept me as part of you since I came from your womb. Then and that like that kind of fucked me up a little bit too when my mother, she never identified me as an Arab. I was always her black son.
Mhm.
And that fucked me up a little bit. So I'm thinking, I came from your womb, from your body, but you
Mhm.
don't but you don't want to identify me as you. So even my mother is not accepting me. And I've spoken to a lot of other biracials who are half white who felt the same way. So they're not being accepted by the very woman that bore them, and then they're not accepted by, well, I think for men, we want acceptance from other men. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
The father, you wanted it from your dad.
right, one from our dad and from the men in his community, and
Mhm.
and then so we're rejected by our mother, and then we're rejected by the men in our father's community. So we're like, fuck, no one wants me, you know. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of us, it's lonely. We're isolated, and 9 times out of 10 we find ourselves grouping with other light skin or mixed race people.
Right.
It just
It
it
would
just
be good because you do have some biracial mothers who are white, not a lot, but I do find that in that community, that would be also a help to get mothers who are white, who have biracial children. How did they cope with that? Because you do have some, it's not a big group, but there are biracial white mothers who did make that step to say that they made sure they were more attentive to the needs of their biracial children. So that would be helpful because you
yeah,
need to be well rounded. And then black mothers, I mean, you're going to have to go every side from this because at some point in
yeah,
time these children are being created, and I'm not sure how it's going to be now in the near future. Are black women going to procreate with more white men? I doubt it. But some are moving in that direction because I'm not sure about black women as black Americans. I'm not sure, but I do see where they're stepping out with other cultures. So that would be an aspect to get a white mother's point of view. Who was that mother who took the necessary steps to do what they had to do, and why does that take place, and how did they work it out where they were more healthy mothers raising their child from a white perspective as a white mother, because we don't want to say
yeah.
all white mothers, but it's more of them that's
Mhm.
creating, but it's more of them that are not being that great fundamentally as mom.
And
It's not accepted.
I would say that black women, the black women that I've interacted with on YouTube, because I really haven't talked about this issue in real life. It's only been on YouTube, right? Um,
Hmm.
the black women I've interacted on YouTube are way more balanced when it comes to dealing with the biracial kids. Like, they would tell them that, you are black, but you're also this. You
Hmm.
are both. You are biracial. And I've had so many black women comment on my songs and say, "Look, I let my son listen to your biracial and proud song, and they love it." And they say thank you, and I helping my sons identify as being biracial. And I see that work being put in by black women. I never have gotten a comment from a white woman saying, I'm helping my son with his biracialness, because, to again, from my point of view, again, it's not all, but from my point of view, they just see him as black. So black women are doing the work and as being more fair and balanced when it comes to a biracial
when it
child.
comes to that, this is the flip up, because black women When you had biracial children in the past, they were not told that they were biracial. So this biracial is new.
Right.
They told, because I have cousins in my family who are in their 70s. They were told simply with their one drop rule that you were black.
Right.
But what they also noted that the father was white, but that was the way it was back in the day. You got to understand,
Right.
during slavery, black women were charged to do that because that was just the way it was in America. Now you're getting a white woman who's having a child, and this is why we were studying different aspect when you have the slave and the slave master. That mentality still goes on, even though we're in 2023. For other cultures, they don't see it that way, but for black women and black men, you got to see the dynamic of why this still comes up, because it wasn't too long ago that these things had occurred, and they still occur today.
Right.
That's why it's like a stain that we have in America. And with other groups, they like, oh, well, we do this, we do that. As black Americans, the relationship between black and white is a deep-seated dysfunctional family, and
Right.
it ranges all the way back. So it's like, to me, when he's doing it, it's an aspect of getting back at or getting close to whiteness.
Facts.
With black women, it's a whole different leak when she does choose to have a relationship with someone outside of her race, especially a white man. It's a lot of questions asked, whereas black men just leak. They just procreate wherever, and you can see it. And then they leave children. You're leaving kids in situations where they're not necessarily being raised, they're just being procreated. And it's like he
Right.
goes on, but he does the same
Abandoned.
thing in his own community, some of them who have that dysfunction. Now, when a black man is at his finest, then he's at his finest, but when he's at his worst, he's at his worst, and he don't care. You can see it. You've seen it. You can see what your dad did. It's
Yeah.
not nothing uncommon. And that's when they don't. And if you look at the history of where his father come from, then it's like, wow, this stuff has been stemming. And if you get a chance to look into his father's history, you'll see this is where this whole, that's why they had songs, Papa was a Rolling Stone, and we
Yeah.
laugh about it, but that was something that they actually do and did. They didn't care. It was in them.
I actually did get the opportunity to look into my grandfather and my great grandfather, and yeah, it was, yeah, they're definitely from a family of Rolling Stones, you know.
Right. So you broke that generational curse. So you just have to go a step further and get that psychological help, because you having sons, that gene does not fall too far from the tree.
Yeah, I got two
It
sons,
will.
man. I'm
Yeah.
worried, man. Yeah, but like my grandfather was never around in my father's life so much that my father took took his mother's last name, you know, because
Hmm.
my grandfather wasn't there, you know, and then my great grandfather also has a different last name, so I'm assuming the same thing, you know. So it's like, you know,
It
but
runs, it runs deep.
yeah,
And a lot of us as Black Americans, we have basically hidden that, or we overlook that, or we excuse it, especially as Black women. And then we have our own traumas that we go through. So it's a lot, and it's amazing how it has trickled down. But he has basically done it in a different way. He's taken that trauma all the way into other communities and created a whole new community. Look at your
right.
community.
Right, create a whole new group of people that they not only have the trauma from him, but the trauma from being abandoned by him, and the trauma coming
Right.
from the other part of our community that hates
Mhm.
the black side of us, you know. So it's like, yeah, this is
Yep. His whole thing was, what I heard in the past was, he slept with my woman, now I'm gonna do it to his woman. So you see the aspect of where this stuff comes from. It started off like that, and then it transcended into something else. And I think it's even more than that for a lot of them. And you will hear some Black men who will admit it, and other ones who basically will see the degeneracy but won't necessarily say anything. Like how you're saying something now, it's like, you don't, that's, we ain't saying nothing, but it's becoming too far out of control, to the point it's literally destroying us as communities.
and that's
So
facts.
something,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, something has to be done,
I
because
get
now it's like we're clashing.
I get a lot of black men, you know, that send me emails, you know, that say they agree with me, but they don't want to speak out about it because of the backlash they will get from other black men, you know. And it's like,
Yes.
I get death threats almost daily, you know, for my content.
Mhm.
And so I can only imagine like a lot of the back, you know, because there are, you know, a lot of people, you know, think I'm going at all black men. No, there are some really good black men out there, and I appreciate them, you know. But you know, but those good black men are afraid to speak out because of the kangs of the hate. Like I get again, like I don't show up on the back end. Like it got so bad where I had to get the FBI involved because kangs were sending me
Mhm.
death threats to my house and threatening to kidnap my kids. You know, so it was like, you know, so yeah, I can understand why some of them don't speak out, but if you don't speak out, this is not never going to
We're
change.
going to keep, and that's what we're saying. We
Right.
have the good men out there, but we have too many that are representing your name. And then it's like the aspect, if we don't stop this now, what about the ones that are coming up? I mean, I'm a black woman, and they'll say, well, we can do this, we can do that. And I can't see but so much as a black woman. I'm talking to you because you're part of the black community, even though you're biracial. I
Right.
say, how you gonna run anything and you can't even run the neighborhood? I'm not following you nowhere.
Yep.
So it's like you go through this whole synopsis as being a black woman. So you're on the other side catching it as biracials and a biracial man, and I'm on the other side catching it as a woman. And you see the aspect where they're coming against us with the manosphere bullshit. So
Yeah.
it's like it's spiraling. I think it's a karma that's necessary because reparations and repair can't come forward until we repair ourselves as a community. And this is a problem. It's a
Right.
problem. And I didn't see it as self-hate, but now I don't know what to call it. I call it chaos. It's just out of control. And it's like we can't keep on, ignoring this. I praise God that my son made it to 30 something years old, but he's one of the good men. But you see the situation where this woman was just going to get a hot dog and look what happened with
Yeah.
her and her child. It's like, how safe can we be at some point in time when you can't even walk out in the streets? And I didn't even want to say that because we're quick to look at what goes on in the white community, but we have our own issues in our own community. I am particular though about dealing with Black Americans only, even though my
Right.
son is bicultural, but I'm about dealing with Black Americans only. So it's not no hate or disparage against Africans and Caribbeans. That's two different cultures,
Right.
and they have various other cultures. But as Black Americans, I am secure on having a space specifically for Black American women, and I agree that biracials need to have their space. But at some point in time, we do have to come together and have that code and that unity and say this is how it is and this is how it has affected us as a community. But we have to hold ourselves accountable, and it's going to be hard to rein this in. But maybe if
Yeah.
everybody come and say, "Look, this is a problem," maybe the
Right.
ones who want to sit in silence, you can't sit in silence for so long, and you have sons that you're raising. How safe can they be? Because eventually it's spreading out all over the damn place like a damn virus.
And that's another reason why my wife came to me today and she's like, you know, we need to get our kids into private school because even the Muslim school that's predominantly African that they're in, we're having a lot of problems, you know, because of the violence and colorism and like my son, my 6-year-old, he's coming home just saying the most foul shit, you know, and you know what I mean? And so I have to handle it, but it's like, and he's learning that from school. You know, you talk saying the sexual shit that he's learning from the boys at school, and in my house, we're not doing that shit. So it's like, yeah, there's something definitely. But
Now, does he go to school with Black Americans or do he go to school with Africans,
oh,
Caribbeans,
he goes to
everything?
school. It's predominantly African Muslim family. So you know, so but it's still part of an American culture. You know that we're trying. You know, I don't know. It's yeah, we're gonna put them in a private school, but it's predominantly African Muslims. They're going to, and the little boys there are just fucking
Mm,
foul. You know.
that's deep. We got to
Yeah,
talk more on that behind the scenes. I would like to know more about that. That's weird.
but they definitely. But like, I want to say something else, and then I got closed out because my wife's texting me about this movie. She really want to watch it.
Oh,
You know, and I agree that you know, black people and biracial people, we should be on code. We shouldn't be this fight. Well, let me clarify. The fight is not really. Well, I'm not a biracial woman, so I don't know what goes
dissension,
on.
dissension. We shouldn't
Right,
have
right,
this dissension,
right.
division.
We,
We
we,
can't because our bloodlines connect.
Right. We should be on code together. We should be fighting some of the same fights together. We should be helping each other out on shit, you know, help, you
Mhm.
know, and like, and that's my thing. Like, I'm for half Black American biracials to have our own group. I want to focus on the half Black Americans, you know, biracials, to have our own group and to have our own stuff, but also still be on code with the Black part of our family, because you know we come from them, and a lot of this we have a lot of the not we have some of the same struggles, you know, and
Mhm.
we need to, you know, and so I think a lot of people are afraid that if we do that, biracials is just going to abandon the Black community. Like, we can never abandon the Black community, because you know, like my hair is growing out. I have a biracial afro. You know what I mean? So it's like I can't
Mhm.
abandon. I look in the mirror and I can't abandon that part of me. And someone said, yeah, we do have a common enemy. As much, you know, white supremacy is still a thing. You know what I mean? And we still have that common enemy. And I never want to be one of those biracials that is used against, you know, that's gaslighted and used against my Black side. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think most biracials, from my opinion, most biracials feel the same way. All they want is a little bit of love and acceptance, you know?
Right.
But
Sounds like a good idea. Well, whenever you have this discussion again, I'll be happy to listen, and maybe we can find more people who can talk about their issues. I can look around and see how
yeah,
they feel.
and
And call
Trina,
them.
thank you for coming on. I love it when you come on because you always keep the conversation going, man. You are awesome. I really appreciate you.
Thanks. Even though you had to put me in my place the last time, because I'm like, what you was talking about? What you trying to say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to be polite. I don't think it was put in the play. We had a disagreement. You know, I still
No,
love
it's
you. We
all
had a
good. It's
disagreement.
all good. I'm just playing around. But whenever you come up, let me know, and put your information for the dating site in, because it's a lot of
Okay.
Black women who are interested in it.
Awesome. I'll make another post on it, and um, just send me an email because I want to stay in touch with you, because I want to you know, I want to plan the next live, and I want you to be on it.
No problem.
Awesome. All right, everybody. I'm about to log off. I'm a little longer than I'm supposed to be. My wife's blowing me up, so if you don't see me for a couple of days, I'm probably my wife
Tell her
probably
we
beat me up.
sorry. Sorry. Have a good night. I hope she enjoyed the movie. It's crazy. Y'all
Oh,
got that. I'm a punk like her. I can't do that.
Right. Well, I love you guys, man. And again, thank you, Trina, and thank you everyone for doing this unexpected live. All right.
All right. Have a good night. Good night, everybody.